The Fan Counters Celebrity Podcast, number 176. Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is the Fan Counters Celebrity Podcast.
You were like the carrot top of interviewers.
Wow, how disappointing was that question?
You did not just ask me that.
Well, that's a big question.
Never mind, I'm done. I'm not doing the show.
Wow, I can't believe it.
I'm telling you, I'm hooked.
Nick.
Yeah, he's so awesome. He's still a good friend of mine.
Welcome to the Fan Counter Celebrity Podcast. My name's Nick. Thank you so much for being here this week. I'm by myself. This interview came up kind of last minute, so Tracy is not joining us this afternoon, but we are glad that you're here to listen to this interview. We'll tell you about that in just a minute. You can follow us on social media. If you go to Instagram and look up Fan Counters Live, you can also go to Facebook. We have a group there if you search Fan Counters. And the big new news is YouTube. If you want to watch this show, because if you're only listening to it, you're only getting half of the show because we have recorded the interviews for you. You'll see all the video if you go to YouTube and search Fan Counters Podcast. And while you're there, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we do appreciate your support of the show. If you want to send us comments, questions, or if you have a celebrity that you want to hear on the show, just send that name to hello@fancounters.com. If we get that celebrity on the show, you can be on the show through a Zoom meeting with your favorite celebrity. And we will benefit too because we'll get a chance to record it for the show. We have a great trio of guests here today. They all have one thing in common, and they are making a movie called 521 North Main Street. It's a movie that's taking place at the Clown Motel. And if you look it up on Google, you'll notice the Clown Motel has kind of a creepy history. Lots of movies have been made there. And you'll see why when you check out their lobby. It's an actual functioning hotel, too. You could stay there if you wanted to. Are you brave enough to stay there? So look it up, the Clown Motel in Nevada. Now, on the show today, we've got three people that are involved with the making of a movie called 521 North Main Street that also happens to be the address of the hotel, the Clown Hotel. And they are Marc Morales, who's the director and writer of the movie. He's joined by Sergio Guerra, who is the special effects artist on the film. And lastly, we have one of the stars of the movie and a star for the last 40 years. That's 4 decades of being on the screen, the small screen television, and obviously in movies. He's known for some great lines in the movie Grease. We're going to talk later today about his role in a show he's not so proud about, which is Punky Brewster, but he also worked with Weird Al, and he's got lots of great stories to share with us. His name is Eddie Deezen, and he comes courtesy of my good friend Steve Joyner, who put this whole show together for me. When Steve is involved, he makes this show go so much smoother because he provides the guest. He's even helped get them online today, and we couldn't be more grateful for our friend Steve Joyner. Now, we are going to get this show started right now. This is Marc Morales, writer and director of 521 North Main Street, his special effects artist, Sergio Guerra, and Eddie Deezen. And we're proud to have all of them coming up right now on the Fan Counters Celebrity Podcast. We have 3 very different but talented guests on the show today, and here they are. They're on Zoom with me. They are from the film 521 North Main Street, which is a horror movie that begins filming this fall. So we've got 3 guests for you today. This is we're going to try and keep everybody straight with questions and get them in order, and I'll let you know who's talking, and we'll be good there. So first, I want to introduce writer and director Marc Morales. Marc, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
And special effects makeup expert Sergio, is it Guerra?
Guerra.
Oh, I like the accent on there. Okay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
And one of the stars of the film, Eddie Deezen. Welcome to you all. Welcome, Eddie.
Welcome. Thank you very much, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you guys. Marc, I want to start with you with this first question. The movie 521 North Main Street is the address for a very iconic motel in Las Vegas. Well, I don't think it's around Las Vegas, but I know it's in Nevada. So
Nevada.
Can you tell us about that hotel and what makes it so iconic?
Absolutely. It's called the Clown Motel. It's in Tonopah, Nevada. It's about 3.5 to 4 hours from Vegas, between Vegas and Reno. It was built in 1985. It's attached to an old graveyard that's no longer open. That was built in 1901. It was open for about 10 years before they closed it. But the Clown Motel, it's been on Ghost Adventures. Other people have done movies there. What makes it so great is it's clown themed. If you go in the lobby, all the shelves in the lobby are just loaded with clown dolls, and people send them from all over the world, all over the country. Some of them have notes attached to them. It was recently sold about a few years ago, because when I first heard about it and I went there, there was nothing.
Really?
It was scary. It was really scary. You went into the lobby, you saw all of these, these dolls, and it was very, very creepy. So I sat down, I wrote the script, and then I went there a few years later, and it was totally tricked out. Totally tricked out. I mean, there was colors. It was very much clown themed at that point. You'd go into the rooms. The rooms were bright colors. There were murals on the wall. They have like the Stephen King room. They have the Exorcist room, things like that. It's pretty amazing. I mean, but the original script, I was like, what did you do? I can't work with this now. Things have to change. But once I calmed down and started rewrites, I'm like, oh, okay, I can make this work. This is fun. It's less, what's the word? Menacing, which makes it kind of cool too, because you're like, oh, nothing's going to happen here. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose.
Well, it's rare that we actually get a look inside to a movie before it's actually been filmed. But today, that's kind of what we're going to get, because you haven't started production yet. What can you tell us about the plot of the film? I don't want you to give too much away, but what do you want to tell us about the story, Mark?
Oh, it's super original. No, it's not. It's about these group of ghost hunters, because that was pretty easy for me to write, because I never really wrote a screenplay before. So I'm like, well, stick with ghost hunters, because that's a pretty common theme. So it's about these group of ghost hunters who aren't really ghost hunters. They're not going to find anything, so they think, and they go there and they evoke the spirit. I guess what you call it. They conjure it up.
Yep. Totally
by accident, and then they're in for a world of hurt. All hell breaks loose for them. The entire play, the characters are basically transported to a hell, but they don't know that, because everything looks the same until they try to leave the premises, walking in circles. And they're like, oh, something bad is happening.
Sergio, I'm going to come to you next. You're a special effects makeup artist whose work has been featured on countless projects, and you've even competed in the Face Off competition, which was a show on the Sci-Fi Channel. Tell us about your developing interest in creating such stunning transformations.
Well, I guess as far as developing, I started off when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old. I loved Halloween, and I still do. And scaring the crap out of my brothers and my aunts and my mom and whatever, that was like a lot of fun. So it just was a natural progression to get, grosser and grosser and more detailed as I grew up, Thankfully, I was able to kind of make this into a living, and that's something I'm really grateful for. And so I just, every time I do something new, I just try and make it better than the last time,
Well, Mark has told me that you are kind of like a hidden gem, because you're very, you're not braggadocious about all the things that you've done, but you've worked on a ton of projects with a lot of success. So you're bringing a lot to this movie. And what special effect do you think is going to be the most hard for you to create, or what transformation could be really difficult to pull off?
Well, so the cool thing about this project, we're in pre-production right now, and Mark's been really cool in letting me kind of get in on the ground floor of the design process. So we've talked about a couple of different, very shocking, transformations in the movie. And I don't want to give away too much here, so just the sort of towards the climax of the film, there's going to be a lot of hopefully really, really cool. I mean, we're both great horror fans from the 80s, and we love those kind of movies like The Thing. And, it's sort of like a big homage to all the old practical effects from the 80s and staying practical. So I know on my end, I feel the pressure of that. I want to make sure that we do it right, for today's audiences, and that it still evokes the same kind of shock feeling that people got with those films in the 80s. And not to put my foot in my mouth, because it's huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But I think that some of the things that Mark and I have been talking about for this film, hopefully will be very, very memorable after it's done.
That sounds awesome. Unless you've been living under a rock, which some people have, but if you've watched movies and television over the last 40 years, you've run into our other special guest that we have on today. You've seen him more than once for sure. His name is Eddie Deezen, and he played Eugene in the 1978 film Grease, and he hasn't stopped appearing in shows since. So, Eddie, I'm glad you're here with the program, and what attracts you?
My pleasure.
What attracts you to the horror genre? Is that one of your favorites?
Well, I'll be honest, it's not my favorite genre. I don't know. I've done like 25 films or something like that. I lost count in TV. I haven't necessarily done a lot of horror. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Nick is a wonderful guy. We talked to Nick, my manager and I talked to Nick. He's a wonderful guy, and I like to work with him. I like to work with good directors. So this will probably be a new genre for me, whereas Nick and Sergio are more used to this kind of thing. It'll be a different thing for me. I guess if I had to pick the horror genre, I'm a reactionary. I go back to Frankenstein, Boris Karloff, Frankenstein. I love Creature of the Black Lagoon. I love King Kong. I grew up on, all those movies I saw. Dracula, I was never crazy about. I never liked that much. But those are the kind of horror films that appealed to me when I was a kid.
Awesome.
You are in Critters 2, though.
Critters 2, yes. I turned into a woman. I turned into a kid.
Yes, you do.
That was fun, yeah. Joel Mark Cranes. Yes.
Yes.
I don't think I missed
I missed DiCaprio by one film. Leonardo DiCaprio's film debut was Critters 3. That was his first movie. It was a direct-to-video movie. I did Critters 2. So I missed working with DiCaprio by this much.
Wow. I don't think he likes to advertise that he was in that movie.
Oh, my God.
Well, too bad he's not here to defend himself. So.
I like you already, Eddie. Eddie, I'm a huge Weird Al fan, and I know that in 1997 you were on the Weird Al show for a lot of episodes as the guy that was boarded up in the wall.
Yes.
I would love to hear some stories about what it was like to actually work with Weird Al.
Well, here's the thing. I never actually worked with him. I know Weird Al. I've met him. He's a wonderful, nice guy, super nice guy. We've met. And he hired me for the show. I said, look, this was when I was starting to need my cue cards. I've been him for like 30 years. I need cue cards. So he wrote in a character for me where I wasn't on screen. You can have your cue cards. You're just going to be the man on the wall. You're not going to be seen. Just read your cue cards, read your script off screen. I would read it off screen. That's how I did that show. Everybody was nice, wonderful cast and crew. And like I said, I think I met Weird Al only one time. He was a great guy.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Can I ask Eddie a question? Because I'm a fan. Eddie, who did you play in Zapped? Because I don't remember. I was like, look at
Zapped. I had this is what it was, Nick. I had a shirt on called God's Gift to Women. I remember that was my own T-shirt I wore. I was just a guy where Scott Baio has magic powers in Zapped. Mm-hmm. And in one scene I'm there, it's like a school something, and he made a roulette wheel go up in the air like that. And I do like that. And I was like shocked in that scene. It was something like that. It was some kind of a weird effect. And I do a mug, like that. And it was basically like that. But my big thing was my shirt, God's Gift to Women I wore. I always had that shirt, but I think it went away last year when I got sick. I lost it.
That's right. Now I remember. I'm like, okay. I'm like, who was he in that?
Scott Baio, by the way, was a wonderful guy. Super nice guy.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine, Mark. Mark, in fact, you had actually not worked with Eddie before, but you've met him. I think that's kind of a weird story. You want to tell that?
Yeah, I was living in California like 15 years ago, and I was coming out of a laundromat. And I'm putting the laundry in my car, and I look up, and I didn't know that Eddie Deezen was standing at a bus stop. And I look over, and in my mind, I'm like, is that Eddie Deezen? And then he looked at me and he went, hi. And once I heard the vibe, I'm like, oh my God, it's Eddie Deezen. And I'm like, are you? And he's like, yeah, come here. And I walked over and he was like, so super nice. And I think I was having a bad day anyway, but he just brightened my day. He was like, how are you? And you started talking. And I think at the time, Eddie, you were on email and you had a friends list or a pals list or something.
This is pre the days of Facebook. That was Mark. Yeah.
And he said, oh, give me your email. And I think you were going to the library to return a book on the Beatles. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, put me on your, give me your email. So I was like, okay, and I gave him my email. And I think after that, I called like everyone that I knew. And I was like, oh my God, I just met Eddie Deezen. But then while I was driving home, though, from the laundromat, all I'm thinking is, how come I didn't give him a ride? How come I didn't give him a ride to the library? It's not that far. I could just give him, and I got this opportunity. I can't believe I didn't give Eddie a ride. I think my sister's like, why didn't you give him a ride? I'm like, I don't know. I was just so overwhelmed that he was just standing there. And I am. I mean, I think you're a great actor. I think we spoke on the phone.
Thank you.
But
Thank you, Mark.
Fan. I am. 1941. I mean, I can go through your entire list. You're just amazing. Grease 2. No one ever talks about Grease 2. You have a great line in Grease 2. It's when the T-Birds, they make it into the talent show and they're just like, I can't believe we made it. And all of a sudden you just come up and you burst their bubble. You're like, oh, everyone made it. They didn't have enough acts. Oh my God, that's so great. Like talk about cutting them, like cutting the legs out from them. It's just like, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Eddie, do you remember that incident that Mark's talking about?
I honestly don't. I honestly don't, but everything Mark said fits me. So I know he's telling the truth. I rode the bus. I'd always go to the library, and I've read 600 or 700 books on the Beatles, so I know he's being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got one more question, Eddie, about your career that I'm curious about, because we've seen so many shows kind of come back from the dead, and they're being revitalized. And one of those shows is the new Punky Brewster that's on the Peacock app. That was a 1980s TV show that you were on several episodes of. So do you, two-part question. Number one, do you enjoy seeing these reboots come back to life? And then also, what memories do you have working on Punky Brewster?
The reboot, Nick, I'm not that interested in it. I probably won't watch it myself. I was never that into the show myself. I'm going to be totally honest. We're all friends here. I strictly did it for the money. They pay you good money when you're on a series, and I did the show for the money. Everybody in the cast was nice. So Lale Moon Frye was very nice. George Gaines was a super nice guy. George Gaines knew I was a Beatles fan, okay? This is how nice a guy he was. Paul McCartney was appearing on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So George went to NBC, he got me a ticket. He made sure he got me 2 tickets, one for me and a friend. He got me in to see Paul McCartney. He was just a lovely guy. I think George lived to be like 99 or something, died a few years ago. But I did 8 episodes of Punky Brewster. And I mean, it was fun, but it's not something I'm necessarily proud of or anything. I did it strictly to make money. They wave all this money in your face. What are you going to say? So I did it. It's not a great series. It's not Gilligan's Island or something I really love. No. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a classic, but it was good enough for them to bring back. So
yeah, I mean, I'll probably, I'll look at it. I'll probably check it out just to see, is there going to be an Eddie Malvin character? Or I'll just see who's going to play Punky now. It'll be interesting to look at.
Well, it's Punky grown up. And so now there's a new cast of kids.
So she's not a little girl anymore. Okay,
right. So now she's got kids of her own and adopted kids. And I got to be honest, the first episode's awful.
Really?
It got better a little bit from there. People are saying they love it.
Which channel is it on? Which channel?
It's the Peacock app. So it's the NBC app.
NBC. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yep.
For people who, I'm so sorry that don't know who Eddie's talking about when he says George played Commandant Lassard in the Police Academy.
Academy.
George Gaines.
George Gaines. Yes.
All right, let's go back to 521 North Main Street, the movie coming up. Because Mark, I've got a question. I'm guessing this Clown Motel is going to be open while you're filming. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So what is your plan to get rid of all these unwanted background people? How are you going to work out that?
I guess we're going to shoot at night as much as possible and keep it in the rooms as much as possible. But we want, if people are listening, hey, I know people are, we want you there. Come, bring your cameras, bring everything you can. Social media. I mean, it's not like back in the day where there was no social media and you had to, I mean, this is it. This is publicity. So bring your cameras and everything else and, just talk us up as much as you can. Come on set. I'll take a picture with you if you want a picture with me, which, yeah, I don't know. But all publicity is there. What do they say? There's no such thing as bad publicity. Just bring it all, get us out there as much as you can before we open. That'd be great.
Sergio, I know that you mentioned that you have collaborated with Mark over the phone, trying to figure out what exactly you're looking for as far as what you need to make and create and all of that. Do you think you're giving him samples along the way, or are you taking that advice and being like, here's the final finished product?
At the stage we're at right now, we're still in the design stage. And it's all about getting on the same page, like everyone's idea of something in their heads is different than somebody else's same idea. So what we're actually doing tomorrow, we have a big day scheduled of going through every single effect. And then at the point that we think we're kind of on the same page, then I'll do some actual full-on designs. Right now, we've traded some sketches on just things we talked about over the phone. Okay. But we'll do some actual designs. And what I like to do, at least when I'm working with somebody, I really want to make sure that we get his vision that's in his head out on screen, So once I get a better idea of that tomorrow, I'll give him a couple of options stylistically through the designs that he can maybe choose from. or make an amalgamation of, to create the final effect. And that's sort of the way I like working, because at the end, it's for me, I feel my job is really to bring that which is in his head to everybody else's eyeballs. And I'm glad that I'm able to put in my own input. He's letting me do that, and it's always great to be able to do that on a project. But I think that's secondary to telling the story. I don't want to do things just because I want to do them. It needs to serve the story. So yeah.
My biggest thing is trusting people. If I don't trust you or feel comfortable with you, whether it's on a film set, a theater set, it's in life in general, I'm not going to want to be there with you. I don't want you around. I just need to feel comfortable, and I feel so comfortable with Sergio. I met Sergio because we worked on he came and worked with me on a project called It's Crazy Out There, and I'd never met him before. So I'm like, can you do this? And you do this? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. And all the zombie. And he was like, oh, so he made the zombie. And I'm like, oh my God. And then someone whispered to me, I think they were on set, and they're like, you do know he was on Face Off. And I'm like, what? It just grew from there. I was locked myself in a motel the other day because just to like try to get some free time and just write a little thing. And we were talking on the phone, and then I think it was like, what time did you text? It was like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. The phone goes off, and I picked it up, and there are like these sketches, and I'm like, oh, so awesome, so awesome. These are great. So yeah, I love what he does, and I trust him. I trust him with my life, and I definitely trust him with my work. So yeah, he comes up. You're welcome, man. He comes up with ideas, and I'm like, okay. And next thing I know, I'm like, all right, let's put that in the script. He helps me out so much. He tells me what I can do, what I can't do. You can't do that. This is harder than this. But yeah, he just keeps on feeding me so much information. I'm like, I didn't even think about this. We were talking about, what was that movie with Nicolas Cage that I'm really not that crazy about? Yeah. He was like, yo, did you see this movie? Oh, no. And he's really cool things with sound. So I sat down, I started watching it, and I'm like, oh, all right, I get it. So all of a sudden, I put something with sound in the script for 520 North Main Street, where the character Brooke, every time, this demon approaches, she hears this high-pitched sound that only she could hear, and it messes with her head and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, if it wasn't for Sergio, I wouldn't have watched the movie or knew to do that. So yeah, it's more than just special effects. He's just filling me up with information. He's inspiring me.
So I want to just make sure. So it's not just the makeup effects, it's any special effect that he's doing.
Yeah, there's really no big like I said, we're both horror fans, like from the 1980s. Like we love movies like American Werewolf in London and John Carpenter's The Thing, where it was all just about practical effects. It's just all about practical effects. So, I don't see any really big other special effects besides those practical effects, those horror things. So, it's the makeup. So that's where we're looking to do. It's just really focus on those makeup things. Like if you see a car accident, you can't turn away because you're sitting there going, oh my God, why am I still watching this? Because you've never seen anything that horrible or that bad before. You're seeing it for the first time. It's like, people are in the water and there's a shark coming. Everyone's like, get out of the water. But that person in the water is looking at that shark going, I've never seen a shark this close to me before. And then before you know it, boom, it bites into you and it's over.
Eddie, I want to turn back to you. I hope you're back.
Yes, I am.
I'm curious about your.
My brother wants to take me out to dinner.
Good. Take him up on that and make him pay. Make him pay. What's your acting process before you arrive on a set? How do you prepare to give that killer performance? Hopefully, literally.
I'll always read the script. I'll look over the script. I need cue cards nowadays, Nick. I can't work without cue cards, so I'll have that. So I won't necessarily memorize my lines. I used to in the old days, I would lock myself in my bedroom, read my lines over, but I'm just not capable of that anymore. But I would study the script, look at my character. I usually play the same character, unlike other actors. I usually play pretty much the same guy. So, but in this might be different. This film might be a different thing for me. So I try to, get into my character, imagine what it'll be like. I want to be friends with the director. I've already met Mark. He's a wonderful guy. So if you're friends with the director, you're halfway home.
Yeah.
The worst curse you could have is having a mean director or a director you don't get along. I've had, like, in my 41 years in this, I've had maybe like one or two. These directors that are just jerks and they don't get along, and it makes the fight horrible. I had one guy, I did a movie, I won't give his name. He was a classic director. He'd done a couple classical, but he didn't do comedies. And we're doing a comedy, and he was just terrible. He was a mean old codger, just a sour apple, and I hated working with him. And that was a miserable shoot. A director is somebody who you can communicate with. The director is an expert in communication. That's what they are. They see the actor, they feel them out. I got to talk to this guy. Okay, you just lost your dog. Now, how do you feel? This is the most beautiful girl in the world. You see her. Now, imagine seeing the most beautiful. A director talks to you that way. So working with a good director helps me tremendously, maybe more than a regular actor. The director helps guide me through. This goes for cartoons or anything, something like, and the name is cartoon. I'll have a great director go, okay, Eddie, you're really mad now. You're really mad. This is the maddest you've ever been. And they kind of get me through it. So they help me through the process myself. And that's pretty much it. I can't really do this line stuff because I read them, on the set. Yeah. So I don't necessarily, read the lines myself and get into the character. I kind of wait till I get to the set.
Eddie's character, Albert, is so nice. He actually tries to talk the demons out of, killing these people and things like that. Okay. He tries his hardest because he's so sweet. And then they're just like, no. Okay. Like, okay, I'll leave. So his character actually has to leave in order for all of this to happen. His character has to leave the motel and walk off the grounds in order to let this happen. But he does. He pleads for them. He tries, and the team just no. They're just going to do this. And even
Mark, the Tom Hanks story. Tom Hanks' first film was a horror film. Had a little bit part. It was some horror film. I forget what the name of it was. His character was supposed to die in it. And he was on the set, and they loved the crew, and the director fell in love with him. He was so nice, they didn't have him die. They changed the script around so he didn't die in the movie.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. It was a sequel. Eddie's
I think it's called I Know What You're Doing, I think it was called, or something
really?
Like that. Yeah, he did it before Bosom Buddies, like 1980 or something.
Oh, yeah. Cool. I got it. Yeah. What's it called? I Know What You're Doing.
I Know What You're Doing. Mark, check IMDb. You'll see what it is, but it's Tom Hanks' first film.
I know. I'm so sorry. Write it all.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm writing it down too because I didn't know about that either. Eddie,
that's a true story.
Eddie, you mentioned about being stereotyped into roles. As an actor, I've never had a chance to ask this before, but does it bother you to be stereotyped?
No, not really. I'm not capable of much more. Look, let's face it. I'm not Robert De Niro. I'm not Marlon Brando. So I kind of do it. I'm kind of more a comedian, a character who acts. So this is basically what I'm capable of. I'm not capable of much more. I'm not going to do Streetcar Named Desire. I'm not going to do something like that. So I play this character in my comedies, and I know I can make people laugh. I know I can do it as a comedian. So I just look at it that way. It kind of hurts sometimes people go, "Oh, you're the nerd," or something like that. And that kind of hurts a little bit when they'll say something that blatant. It's kind of like an insult. Most people are nicer.
They don't mean it as an insult.
But they don't mean it as an insult, exactly. They'll be like, it's Eugene the nerd, or something like that. It sounds like they're insulting you, but you're right. They're probably good-hearted people just saying that.
Oh, but in Midnight Madness, you're a badass. You and your crew, on your mopeds. Let's go get him. I'm like,
Michael J. Fox's first film. Yes. Yeah, Michael J. Fox. Michael and I would be on the set. We'd have lunch together. We would play with the Super Bowl. We'd play handball at Disney Studios against the wall, and we talk about the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone, not necessarily a horror show, but it's science fiction. Sometimes they were horror episodes. Michael was a huge Twilight Zone fan, and we would talk about our favorite episodes. He's a great Twilight Zone fan. Anyway, we did Midnight Madness 1980. 5 years later, I'm at Universal Studios, walk around this. That was Michael's first film. He was a kid. He was an unknown. 5 years later, I'm at Universal with an audition. This red sports car comes spinning up, skids to a stop. Michael J. Fox is there. He'd been Back to the Future. He's the biggest star in the world now. Same sweet guy. Hey, Eddie, how are you? Da-da-da. We shake hands. He couldn't have been nicer. Are you working? Oh, I was just in an audition. I'm talking to the biggest star in the world now. Blah, blah, blah. We kibitz, for a few minutes and then he spun off in a sports car. That's the last time I ever saw him. He's a profoundly nice man. Very nice guy.
Eddie, the beard is awesome, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. I like Mark not having to shave every day. I thought it itches a little, and the worst is the food gets it. Having soup or something, it's all on it.
But you have leftovers for later. You can eat it later. There it is.
Yeah.
Is he keeping the beard for the movie then?
Yeah, that's Mark's call. Whatever Mark wants. Mark says he wants me to shave, I'll shave it off. But if he says keep it, I'll keep it.
I would love for him to keep it, but
Okay.
Eddie does, signings and stuff like that, and people they know him a certain way. So whatever he wants to do, but if I had a choice, I would keep it.
Sure, I'll keep it, Mark.
I don't want Eddie because he's Eddie Deezen. I want, because like I said, he's a great actor. He was in Grease, but there were a lot of people in Grease that, not that they were bad, but I really don't remember. But Eddie sticks out to me. That's, we know John Travolta, but John Travolta had, Saturday Night Fever before that, and movies like Blowout and other things after that. But, Eddie's in my mind because he's just a great actor. 1941, he's up on the Ferris wheel. I remember Eddie Deezen on the Ferris wheel in 1940. In Critters 2, once again, I remember Eddie Deezen.
Thank you.
But all these movies have other people, but boom, Eddie sticks out. Midnight Madness, Michael J. Fox, yes, but Michael J. Fox also had Family Ties, and he had Back to the Future here and all those other things. But boom, I remember Eddie Deezen. Eddie sticks out. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And that's why I like to work with, really strong actors, because I don't know, they complete me, if we can say that. They complete me. They make me feel good. I love watching them work. I become a fan sometimes, which I shouldn't become a fan, but if it's, we have other actors in this production also that I've worked with on other projects. And the reason why I'm working with them again is because I loved working with them. I felt that they understood the work and they brought more to the work. The same thing with Sergio. There are tons and tons of makeup people out there, but when you find someone that you just like being around and they speak the same language as you, it makes it easier. I can just say, "Oh, you ever see this movie?" And Sergio's like, "Yeah, I saw that." And I'm like, "Okay, dialogue is open now. You know where I'm coming from, and I know where you're coming from. So understand each other, and we go from there."
I've got one question for each of you in just 1 second, and I'll ask each of you after this. The first one is important because there's a lot of fans of clown horror movies, and they sometimes want to make sure things are done right. And, some horror fans are very particular about their movies. Are you doing any crowdfunding for this movie? Are there ways for fans to get involved? Talk up a little bit about, if you want people to even, know more about it during the process.
Fortunately, we're funded so far, which is great. And as far as social media goes, I'm just not that person. I have a Facebook account, and I just recently started an Instagram account. But I have a really great friend, Roxanne Daniels, who I call, and I'm like, "Hey, how does Kickstarter work?" So she's like, "I'll look into it." So yeah, once we start a Kickstarter account, I guess it's a Kickstarter account. We would love for people to give us money.
Yeah,
so
of course.
We can do more. We just want our budget to grow, because the more money you have, the more you can do. So
what about auditions? Like, can people audition to be in the movie, or is it totally cast already?
Right now, knock on wood, and we're fortunate enough to be cast right now.
Great.
But if people want to come by and come on set, it's like, "Oh, can I be an extra?" There's always room for extras, especially in the opening scene and the ending scene. But if people want to find out how to send money or help fund this, or even come work on the project, you can reach out to my personal email, which is alphaville2@hotmail.com, or you can friend me on Facebook. We also have the production company is called High Five and Ants Productions. You can go on highfiveandantsproductions.com and go on the comments and send emails that way. Any way you want to. Go on my Instagram account, Marc Morales, and reach out that way. I'll get back to you. I've got nothing else to do, really. I have all of this to do, this production, but other than that, I really just sit at home a lot.
I was like, you are.
It's not cool, but it's fun. I watch a lot of movies,
Yeah.
a lot of horror films, but that's
good.
it. Yeah.
Research.
Yeah, it's research. That's what it is. My girlfriend comes in and I'll be watching the same thing, the same horror film, and she's like, "Research, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's research."
Are you, Mark? I have a question for Mark, just to interject real quick. Are you influenced by Hitchcock, Mark, that kind of film?
Hitchcock, of course, there's Psycho, but I'm not really a Hitchcock person. I love him. I respect what he did. Kubrick really gets me. I like Stanley Kubrick, whether it's The Shining or Full Metal Jacket. There's something about Stanley Kubrick. You just sit there and first time, so you'll go back and watch it again, and then again. There's just more and more that comes out. One thing that's funny, you said Kubrick. There's a picture of him, because people are like, do you like writing more or directing? I'm like, I'm first. That's really it. But there's a picture of Kubrick with a typewriter on the set of The Shining, and I'm like, why is he sitting there with a typewriter? He's already in production. They're filming. And I'm like, that's badass. How badass do you have to be to go in, saying, we're going to start filming now, and take your typewriter and put it on, going, you know what? Everyone stop. I don't like this scene. I got to rewrite it. I'm like, that's awesome. Joe Dante, another wonderful person a director that I love. He did Gremlins. He also did The Howling. And and he did The Birds, because talk about Tom Hanks. They think the movie's The Birds. It's kind of like almost like a little horror film, but it's a comedy. And Carrie Fisher's in it also, who played Princess Leia in the Star Wars series. And he can do no wrong in my eyes also. And did I answer the question? I'm not sure. Okay, I tend to ramble. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's about Hitchcock. But but all of these directors that I like, they go back to Hitchcock, and they'll go, oh, I was influenced by Hitchcock. So I'm like, okay, so they're influenced by Hitchcock. I'm influenced by them. So there's just like this trend. It keeps growing and growing and growing. So yeah, so I guess a little bit. Yeah. I guess there you go. There's a Hitchcock.
I understand.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay,
I was curious. No, totally okay.
Directors always over-explain. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, so final question for each of you. Sergio, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Your work is so carefully crafted, and it must have taken a lot of time to really get to where you're at. My question for you is, what project would you say so far, hopefully your answer will change now with this project, but so far, what's been your proudest movie or project that you've done so far?
Well, so we're talking about movies, so I'll stick to movies.
Okay.
But I do a lot more than just film. I haven't been working in film for a while, actually. So it's like I try and be very selective on the films that I actually do go work on now. But I do a lot. I like sort of like live audience feedback, and so I've been doing like haunted house consulting and like creature events and things like that, and that's sort of like something that I really, really enjoy. And because of the aspect of it being live and in front of people, and things having to go off correctly the first time, some of the things I've done within that are like probably my proudest. But in film, like I think probably this was a film. What's the name of it? I think it was the Killing Fields. It was a zombie movie.
Okay.
I think it was the Killing Fields, directed by Daniel Maldonado, and we were doing a night where there was going to be 6 zombies, right? And working in independent horror films, as an FX artist, you're there to fix problems, make illusions happen, make things happen. That's our main job, right? And you try and take into account Murphy's Law by preparing as much as you can, but there's always things that happen on the night of, right? Well, in this case, we were supposed to do 6 zombies for a night shoot. I think we were about 5 hours, 6 hours in, finishing them up, and the producer walked in and said, "Hey, the director wants to know if you can make a couple more zombies," And we're like, "Well, we're running out of time." Huh?
I'll just whip those up.
Right, exactly. And I was like, "Well, we're running a little short on time, but we can do some background zombies or whatever." Okay, cool. So I have a group of 50 people walk into the makeup area. We need to make 50 zombies in an hour, essentially. And it was myself, and I had one assistant. And it was like, oh my God. So at that point, you can say, hey, you know what? That's impossible, right? Or like what I like to do at least is I like to be upfront with people. I like to be honest. One great thing about working with Mark is that, I feel like I can be honest with things, and he takes, my opinions, and then he runs with it and whatever he needs to do. and I could tell you, look, this is not going to be 50 great looking zombies, right? But here's what we can do. And so, the director was okay with the quality that I told him we can get done in that short amount of time. And we did it. And we did 50 zombies in an hour without any kind of preparation, just with stuff laying around or whatever. And they turned out pretty good. So I think as far as fixing problems and all that, that's the thing that keeps me on my toes, and I enjoy a lot. And we're able to actually get something done that seemed impossible. To me, that's very fulfilling. So that'd probably be my best.
What was the name of that film again?
The Killing Fields, I believe. Daniel Maldonado.
Sounds good. And then
and I don't remember the title well because I believe they changed it. That's why. But I think it's called The Killing Fields by Daniel Maldonado.
Okay. And then where can we follow you on social media?
Well, I'm like Mark. I'm pretty bad at social media. I don't know why. I'm just very lucky that my name gets tossed around from like director to director because I'm horrible at self-promotion. But if you look up Sergio Guerra Jr., I should pop up on Facebook, Instagram. I think it's Sergio Guerra Pics. Sergio Guerra Pix. Pics, and that's my Instagram one. So yeah, if you want to look me up there, and for anybody that's watching that likes just special effects or is getting started, like you can ask me any kind of questions. I always get back to people with special effects questions. I didn't have anybody to go to when I first started this stuff, and people were very secretive. So anytime I can like give information to somebody that's starting out, I really, really enjoy that. So feel free.
Awesome. Thanks, Sergio.
Wasn't it Claire, when you were doing her makeup for It's Crazy Out There, didn't she make you get an Instagram account?
Well, she was the one that was telling about how important it was. Yeah. So yeah, I'm still getting like advice from everybody, right? Because social media is important, but for some reason I just can't wrap my head around. It's what it is too is that I guess personally I just like doing the things. Like I like creating and making things or whatever. So I don't think about like taking pictures or posting things or whatever. So I need somebody else that thinks that way, and that's really the only way that I have pictures is because other people take pictures for me. So they're like, here, put this online.
Okay, I'll do it.
I have a zombie that he did. I think it's on my Facebook page. I think I use it as my picture, and people are like, "Was that from The Walking Dead? And isn't that who did this?" And I'm like, "That's Sergio. Sergio does all this. It's amazing. I'm not going to gush anymore about Sergio because I can be here all day. It'll be the Sergio and Eddie show, and Mark just gushing about them.
That's all right, though. Eddie, your last question I've got. Now, obviously, you've been a recognizable face in the entertainment industry for over 40 years, which seems like an impossible length of time. And I know you do autograph shows. And besides having a fan encounter with Mark, I was wondering if you could tell us about some of your favorite encounters that you've had with your fans throughout the years.
Oh, I had I'll tell you, this is the greatest fan story of all time. This is what happened to show you. Just off the top of my head, you asked that. Then I'll tell you some wonderful celebrities I've met who not necessarily at least knew who I was, but it's the trip. I'll tell you, this is the greatest fan story ever. I was doing a show called Chiller Theater in New York. We were signing there. This was one of my big time shows. This is like maybe about 15 years ago. I'm sitting between Adam West is there, Barbara Eden is there. I sat the whole weekend. There was a 3-day signing show. Okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm sitting by Pete Best. He was the drummer of the Beatles before Ringo. He requested me. He was a fan of a movie and he called I Want to Hold Your Hand, a Beatles movie. This was Bob Zemeckis' first film. It's Pete's favorite film, so he requested to sit by me. So I'm sitting by Pete Best. I'm surrounded by all these huge celebrities. I'm thinking I'm really hot. Blank S blank IT.
Yep, we got it.
I'm the coolest guy in the world. So anyway, I'm signing my autographs. Oh, thank you, thank you. Everybody tells you how great you are. This Schlemiel comes up to me. This guy's the loser of all time. He literally had grease stains on his shirt. Literally, like grease. He looked like a nutty professor. He had buck teeth. He had glasses. He had a shirt in he had like an astute tie. He waddles up to me. Hi, oh God, who is this guy? I'm thinking, but okay, look, he paid his money. He's going to pay me for it. Let's hear what he has to say. Hi, he introduced himself. Sign this. This is your name to whatever his name is, Sam or whatever. So I signed it. I'm thinking, God, I've never in my life felt more superior to another human being than I did to this guy. Okay. So anyway, I signed my autograph. So the guy quickly, he's beckoning me in to hear something. I took condescending. I go, okay, let's hear what the guy's got to say. You'll get rid of him. So I lean in. The guy says to me, he goes, when the other kids in school wanted to make fun of me, he used to call me Eddie Deezen.
What? Aww.
That's the story. He put me in my place. It's a totally true story, and it gave me a whole new perspective on humanity. Maybe I'm not so special. Maybe I'm not so superior to everybody else. Anyway, the other was I go to Sylvester Stallone, he's doing a signing show. And Stallone's there, he's signing
That's
his
amazing.
book. But, he looks up at me. He starts wagging his finger. My manager goes, he's the guy from Grease. And Sylvester Stallone goes, yeah, that's it. But it's so Stallone recognition, that much recognition from Stallone. I had it with Mickey Dolenz. I go to the autograph show. I do with Mickey Dolenz. I go up at Mickey Dolenz. He looks, because I get that, they go, don't I know you? They won't necessarily know that Eddie Deezen, but Mickey Dolenz, my manager, same thing. He goes, that's the guy from Grease. Mickey Dolenz, the same thing. Yeah, that's it. The scope of Grease. I always go, because I was in Grease, I have a very small role. I'm on screen probably for less than a minute in Grease. But I always go, I'm like one of the dead bodies in the battlefield scene in Gone with the Wind. All these corpses are there, Gone with, but for the rest of their lives, every one of those corpses, they're just lying for it. I was in Gone with the Wind with Clark Gable. I'm in the most famous movie of all time. That's kind of like me in Grease.
You're beyond that. You are.
Well, thank you. That's
so
very kind of you.
Beyond.
Yeah,
you are Grease. You are more
like
than Travolta and Olivia Newton-John and yeah.
What's cool, and I'll say this also to gush a little bit on Eddie, because when Mark was talking about the character, at first, and he mentioned Eddie Deezen, like as he started talking about how the character was just a really nice guy, and he was like, kind of like sort of taking the side of the humans on this or whatever. That's when I got it, because that's the vibe that Eddie gives. Like, he's a nice guy. Like, that's why he's recognizable. That's why you remember him, because he gives you this honesty, I think, that you could see through, like in the film. So as soon as he started telling me more about that character, I was like, oh, okay, I see why Eddie is going to be able to do this.
Well, thank you, Sergio. It'll be a pleasure working with you.
Oh man, likewise. I'm excited.
All right, my last question is for Mark. Mark, you're putting a film together with a lot of moving parts, and that's true of any film, actually. And things probably aren't going to always go the way that you want them to. So how are you kind of anticipating the different challenges and coming up with plan Bs? How are you prepping for problems?
Honestly, I mean, it's not sound great, but I try not to think about. I already know that things are going to happen that we're not expecting, but I'm not sitting going, well, if this happens, I'm going to do this or this. I think it was Eddie Murphy who once said, I never had a backup plan, because if I felt I had a backup plan, I would have just went on my backup plan.
Okay.
And not have, become a comedian and an actor. I think I guess I can be, I'll just say a bit of an ass sometimes, here we go. There was a scene once we were shooting for a project, and one of the actors was very, very late, and we only had X amount of time to get things done. And then, my camera, what are we going to do? So it was just, this actor and the actor that was already there. And, I guess the just said, I don't care if they show up at this point, because I'm going to rewrite it right here, right now, and we will get it done. So that's the way I guess it's life, no matter what's thrown at you. You just got to keep on rolling with it. And, and if you keep your head on straight, you will get through it. So that's the way I'm just looking at this. Whatever happens on this set, it's going to happen. It's just the way, I'm going to react to it, or that's going to get me through it. I mean, I can sit there and the whole world can come crushing down. I can go, so they're going, oh my God, now what am I going to do? And blah, 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 blah. But in the end, that's not helping anyone.
Right.
So I just need whatever's thrown at me, I got to take it and go, okay, fine. Let's just keep on. We're going to do this now. We're going to do this now. And I guess as a writer, as well as the director of the film, it's a little bit easier for me to say things like this, where if it was just if I was just directing and it wasn't my work and stuff like, I'd be like, holy crap, now what? I don't know anything about this except, what I had in front of me in a script. But as the writer, I can sit there and go, oh, and, things might happen where I can go, oh, I wrote this scene a different way at one point. Now I can do it that way. So, I mean, I guess I have little options in my head already.
Good.
So,
Good,
but
good.
yeah, just to sit there and go, what am I going to do with my backup? I don't.
You're just
know
working
what's
on
gonna
plan A.
happen.
That's probably a good way
Yeah,
to be.
that's it. I'm just driving with plan A and see what happens.
Well, I have to say that having 3 guests on the show does actually make my job a lot easier. You guys had a lot of good questions for each other, and that helped out. So I just want to thank all of you for your time today. I know that when there are 3 guests, it's hard because everybody's fighting for talk time, but y'all really figured it out, and I appreciate y'all being here.
Nick,
My pleasure.
you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. The
And
fact
Mark
that
and Sergio, I look forward to working with both of you. You both seem like terrific guys.
Oh, you're a terrific guy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you for working with us. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for just gushing again. Just thank you. Just thank you for being you, and thank you for being around.
Thank you.
And that's
Okay.
it. You're welcome.
I'm heading off to dinner, you guys. See you guys later.
All right. See you
Bye-bye,
later.
sir.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. My thanks to Marc Morales, Sergio Guerra, and Eddie Deezen for being on the show this week, talking about the movie 521 North Main Street, as well as a lot of their career highlights. These guys are going to be making this film this fall at the Clown Motel in Nevada. I keep saying Las Vegas because I have to remember there's more than one city in Nevada, and it's not just Las Vegas. But the address to the hotel is the name of the movie, 521 North Main Street. So hopefully you can check them out on social media. And he even said if you want to go watch the movie getting filmed, you might end up in it. Hopefully not as a victim. You can follow us on Instagram. Go to Fan Counters Live if you're looking for us online. We'd love for you to follow us there. We also have a YouTube channel, so if you're just listening to the show, we talked about it at the top, just go to Fan Counters Podcast on YouTube. And finally, on Facebook, we have over 25,000 people hanging out on Facebook getting our updates, and that is just by searching Fan Counters on that platform. That is going to do it for me. Now, next week, we're back with another celebrity guest. I'm sure Tracy will be back, and you can deal with more than just me. I know I'm fun, but Tracy, brings that little spark. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you next Friday. Bye-bye.